Today we're testing the Apple Watch Ultra 2 versus the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra, and I'm gonna let you know why I might actually be switching. This video is sponsored by Gruns, more on them later. Now the first thing is price. The Apple Watch Ultra is $799 versus the Galaxy Watch Ultra is $649. Now they're relatively close. Does that make a big difference? No, because they have vastly different ecosystems. You need a Samsung phone to use the Samsung Watch, and you need an Apple iPhone to use the Apple Watch. But they're very similar, and I personally am curious how both of these watches are gonna stack up in fitness testing and general lifestyle. So today we're gonna find that out. Now, what are their similarities? They both have multi-band GPS, so they should be more accurate for outdoor runs and outdoor bikes. They have sapphire glass, so prevent it from scratching a lot. 3000 nits, which means extremely bright screens in the daytime. They have a quick button or action button, whatever you want to call it. They both work really well underwater at extreme altitude, extreme temperatures, and they're built to have software for triathlons, and they even copied the double pinch. So what exactly are their differences then? Now, one major difference is battery life. I actually just took these off of the charger 45 minutes ago. They were both at 100%. The Apple Watch is rated for 36 hours with normal use, and the Galaxy Watch Ultra is rated for 60 hours with normal use, almost double. Yet, right now they're both sitting at 95%, and we'll see how that changes throughout today. And now the straps. This is the marine band on the Samsung and the ocean band on the Apple Watch. They look somewhat very similar, yet they're also slightly different. The Samsung has two little notches to slide into, whereas the Apple Watch has one. They both have two hooks to make sure it doesn't slip off, and they have a little bit of holes in throughout the middle side pieces, and a little bit of air and space ventilation underneath the straps, which I do really like. So this is probably the best one to make sure you're getting a little bit of air underneath your skin, as well as it doesn't fall off whenever you're in the ocean or doing any kind of high impact athletic sports and things like that. One difference with the Ultra is the digital crown, and it just feels so nice to turn this. It's super smooth. The Samsung does not have any kind of physical crown or physical turning device. It is more software based. From a hardware perspective, they both have amazing features to help stand up in most scenarios, but how do the health app features stand up? Let's test those out. Now, when it comes to the health apps on both of these devices, one thing I don't like is they have multiple apps just for your wearable, your watch, and all your health and fitness data. For the Apple, we've got the Watch app. On Samsung, we've got the Wear app. And then for health, we have the Health app. We have a Health app on iPhone. And then we have a Samsung Health Monitor app. And then we also have a Fitness app on the iPhone. So sometimes when you want one thing, you have to go to multiple places, and it can be a little confusing on both platforms. Now, when it comes to seeing my overall exercise minutes and stand hours and all those types of things, in the Apple app, it's gonna be on the Fitness app, where I'm gonna have my 3 circles and everything that I've done. Whereas on the Samsung app, they have hearts. That's gonna be in the Health app. And I tried to wear most of these watches all day today so far, and the data is gonna be slightly different, but that's what they look like. Whereas if I wanna look at my sleep scores, which we'll get more into later, I have to open up the Health app on the iPhone. If I wanna see my body weight, body fat, and all that information, that's also inside of the Health app. Water intake and a whole bunch of other data that I might get on the iPhone and the Health app, it's gonna be all in the same app on the Samsung, which I do like having everything in one place. Now, when it comes to nutrition, I can easily go ahead inside of the Samsung and enter in meals. I can go ahead and search and say, hey, this is my afternoon snack. Whereas on iPhone, all this data actually gets inputted from like MyFitnessPal and a couple of the other apps. If I want to enter in my meals, they can enter in this information manually. Now, when it comes to my dietary intake, there's one thing that I do really love taking just to make sure I get all the nutrients that I need. And that's why I've decided to partner with Gruns, a daily multivitamin gummy that I actually do take every day. It's a brand new packet. Thank you, Gruns, for sending this to me. And I think they taste absolutely great. They come in these little travel packs because I'm super busy. I'm always filming stuff, traveling, going places. I honestly don't have time to mix any powders or find something healthy to eat sometimes. So my little hack to make sure I have nutritional insurance is one of these packets every single day. They're super simple. I can toss this in my bag when I wake up in the morning. And then throughout the day, if I'm just craving a little bit of gummy, something chewable in my mouth, I get this cute little guy right here. There's a couple of them, and I can just eat them, snack on them in the middle of the day. Oh wait, we're still filming? Gruns has done the hard work to make sure there's the proper dosing and mix of ingredients so you have optimized nutrition in these little packs. With most generic multivitamins, they only have 7 to 9 vitamins, but Gruns has 20 plus vitamins and minerals and 60 plus whole food ingredients. They're also vegan. And their ingredients are backed by over 35,000 research publications And in clinical studies, they saw 41% increase in healthy gut bacteria in 16 days, 53% experienced a reduction in mild cognitive impairment, and 91% experienced thicker hair, nails, and improved skin health. Get up to 45% off. Just click the link in my description. Thank you, Gruns, for sponsoring this video. Now what's nice is both of them have sleep tracking features, but what they can do are slightly different. Apple has been upgrading a ton of their stuff with sleep stages. Now there's the new Vitals feature, whereas Samsung decided, hey, let's try to level that up a little bit more, and they have a feature where they can track snoring if you put your Samsung phone next to your bed plugged in. They have all the sleep stages stuff as well. For some reason, my data is slightly different from both devices. I think you're gonna find that with all wearables. They'll also both do blood oxygen, and even skin temperature during your sleep, so that's very helpful to see if you're getting ill or not, or as well as for cycle tracking, respiratory rates, and Samsung adds sleep coaching, which is a whole nother level up, but you do need 7 days of data at least to be able to understand that, so maybe I'll do that in a future video. And one thing that Samsung has is also sleep score, which is very similar to Aura or Whoop's recovery or readiness score. They show you all the data that they use to kind of calculate what your overall score, readiness, and energy is for the day. Something that Apple has not really stepped into, but they have added something called training load, which is more around the fitness side of it. So I'm excited to see how this data matches up with all the other wearables that I wear. And the Samsung Watch does have ECG just like the Apple Watch, but there is one thing: they have sleep apnea detection, where you need to wear it for 2 nights, and it will advise you on whether you do or might have sleep apnea, and if you should check into that more. This is an over-the-counter solution, so it should not replace medical grade sleep apnea detection devices. But it's really cool to be able to know that I could potentially, just see, hey, should I get further testing or not? All right, now I'm gonna test the heart rate accuracy and the GPS accuracy of the Galaxy Watch Ultra versus the Apple Watch Ultra and the Garmin Epix 2 Pro Gen 2. We're gonna run here around New York City in an area where there's a lot of tall buildings, and then in an area where it's just along the water, so there's more GPS accuracy. And for the heart rate, I have a chest heart rate strap, which I'm gonna sync directly to my phone, and we're gonna measure that raw data and compare it against all 3 watches and see how they line up in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the running and outdoor GPS features that the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra has compared to the Apple Watch. Now, both the Apple and the Samsung have race routes where you can race yourself and see if you're getting faster, multi-sport, so for example, triathlons. And then Samsung has this new thing with an FTP test where they can see how gifted and talented you are with biking, and supposedly they can figure that out pretty fast. So if you want to see a full video on that, let me know. But today, I think the most important things are: how do you start the workout, how do you stop the workout, and does it just get you basic good data? So we're gonna test that to see how it works. Garmin is probably the biggest competitor, and the one thing I love about them is it's all physical buttons as well as a touch screen, so I can control everything without having to touch the screen. I can touch the screen if I really want to, just by scrolling here, but I'm gonna select run. So that's 2 taps on the start button here. Now we're in, it's finding GPS, and boom, just like that, it's found it, multi-band is on. Super seamless to get started and going. For Samsung, we're gonna press the orange quick button here. It opens up my exercises. I'm gonna go ahead and select running. I did have to go into settings here, and I wanted to turn on manual start, so now it's on manual workout start. So once I tap running, it'll wait, it'll buzz when it finds GPS, and that will stop blinking. And once I'm ready to go, I can either tap the quick button or tap start to start my workout. I don't like that it doesn't show a lot of details on the watch, like there's no other text, like maybe the time or anything like that. It's just like one little icon for GPS. I just wish it was a little bit easier to understand what's going on. On the Apple Watch Ultra 2, I'll press the action button to open workout, scroll down to outdoor run. I do need to use the touchscreen to select it. It'll show me that it's looking for GPS. It is now found. It has the most prominent visual for that it's found. It'll actually update me on the heart rate. I love that it shows me all this data even though I haven't started the workout yet. Once I press this, the workout will start. And what I also like to do is turn on water lock, and when that's on, I can't touch the screen, but I can still use the digital crown to swipe through the menus, and I can use the action button as well as these 2 buttons to pause my workout. Features are cool, but I think the most important thing is being able to start and stop your workout with hardware buttons, and luckily all these watches support that right now, so I do appreciate it. They just need to work. Let's get this run started and see how the data matches up. All right, and the run is complete. The Garmin got 2.29, the Samsung Galaxy Ultra 2.28, and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 2.24. For some reason, this has always been shorter distances, I think because they massage the data with Apple Maps. But let's go look at it in detail on my computer. Sweat loss, that's cool. That's unique to the Samsung. You can drink 889 milliliters of water. We just finished the workout. Let's do a quick battery update. The Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra is at 80% and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is at 66%. So it's definitely dying much faster. It is rated almost half of what the Galaxy Watch Ultra is. So it looks like the real life is kind of holding up. Time to look at the results. We had the Garmin Epics with the heart rate of the chest monitor. We had the iPhone GPS to the heart rate monitor of my chest strap. And then we had the heart rate monitors on these two watches as well as their own GPS. So let's see how they stack up. First, we'll look at heart rate. As you can see here, the yellow is the Polar chest strap, or the Garmin chest strap on the Polar app. And then the three other colors are the Apple Watch, the Garmin, and the Apple Watch Ultra 2. And they're pretty close. There's one point here where it looks like the Samsung, which is the blue. So if we zoom in on that segment there, the Samsung kind of fell off the other two watches where everyone else stayed pretty consistent. Near the end, everyone was pretty close. I kept running the chest strap. Everyone kind of dipped, had the same similar-ish slopes. Sorry that the times are a little bit wrong. We'll figure that out. Here we had a quick bump in the heart rate, and you can see kind of the slopes are pretty similar. So they're pretty good at picking up the heart rates pretty quickly. There's just some points here where the Samsung seemed to have fell off. Even over here, the Samsung kind of disconnected from all the other rest of the group. If you look at elevation, it looks like the Samsung was at 34 meters for some reason, and the Garmin and the Apple Watch were in the 4 to 10 meter range. Still not perfect, but for some reason the Samsung was much different than everyone else. So the Samsung is blue, Apple Watch is green, and if we want to, we can also compare with the Garmin, which is that reddish color. So if we come in and look at that map, we've got the blue right here and the green. The Samsung and the Apple are pretty close. The Garmin, for some reason, decided to stray off here with these tall buildings. It got a bit confused. As you can see, all of them struggle. I stayed pretty close to the edge on the left side here, the buildings on 29th Street. It seemed like everyone tended to struggle here as well. But if we go, the Garmin keeps straying off from everyone else. And then on this street, everyone did get a bit confused. But it's really interesting to see how the Samsung here looped all the way around and the Apple Watch kind of cut through. I did cross the street this way. You can see how the Apple Watch, which is the green, is more smooth than all the other colors. The blue has a little bit of jaggediness, and so does the red, which is the Garmin. Once we got outside of the buildings, that's where everything got really well. You can see around this roundabout, the Garmin is probably the only one that fell into the water. Everyone else seemed to stay on track. And I ran up here. They all seem pretty close. They're all already on par. And then I came back on the bike tracks just to have a slightly different, and they're all very close. I think once we got out of the tall buildings, they did decently well. It's just in this area where we have a lot of buildings. For some reason, the Garmin seemed to have added a little bit more mileage, whereas everyone else stuck to the streets and the walls. I love that Apple is now playing nice with Samsung and other Android phones by incorporating RCS. I can go ahead and start messaging on here, and I can see the ... I can do kind of the little fun replies I typically do with other iPhone users. So I'm super stoked to see RCS integrated with the iPhone. And what's also neat is having these smartwatches allows me to reply on both watches. So there's smart AI replies on the Galaxy Watch Ultra. On the Apple Watch, there are some smart compose replies as well. So having both these watches, I can quickly reply. I can even do phone calls. So there's a microphone and a speaker on both watches.
Verizon Wireless, your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please.
Be able to answer calls quickly, be able to have a conversation, and then end the call right on my watch, or double tap to end the call. And I love those features just for general lifestyle. And the last lifestyle feature that I absolutely love, if you watched all my I Traveled with the Apple Watch videos, is Apple Pay. That's essentially tap to pay on your watch, and Samsung does support tap to pay with Samsung Pay, Google Pay, and they do have transit features, so I can just instantly tap without having to activate or anything. And I think that's huge. This just makes it effortless. I don't have to carry my wallet. Now there's this energy score feature, which is similar to Garmin's body battery and the Aura Ring and Whoop's kind of like readiness score potentially. And on the Samsung watch, you'll be able to see how's my quote unquote energy, and it's based on kind of your overall sleep habits, your heart rate, your heart rate variability, and a ton of other factors that they show you inside of the app. I think this is kind of interesting to get a little bit more data and insight. Just don't let it change how you make your decisions based on your life. It's just another data point to get an understanding of like, hey, am I good or bad? I don't know, maybe. The next really interesting feature is the Ages Index that Samsung is kind of releasing in their Labs feature. And this is going to help measure something that's going to tell you your metabolic health and metabolic flexibility potentially. This is not a medical product, but I think this is one step in the right direction of having glucose monitoring on a watch, and it's kind of one step closer to that. So I'm really excited to see how this kind of pans out. But this is available only in the new Ultra and the 7 watch. One thing the Galaxy watches and the Apple watches have always had is ECG, so being able to get a cardiogram of your heart irregular heart rhythm notifications, so if it's too low or too high, those can be valuable in specific conditions, and just getting your general heart rate data, your resting heart rate. This is all kind of like baseline, interesting information to know. I've found, my resting heart rate improves as I do more cardiovascular training. So seeing that data motivates me to do more cardiovascular training. And I do appreciate that both these watches have it, and you can see that data in your health apps. And one feature that the Samsung Watch has that the Apple Watch does not, but my Oura Ring does have, is kind of like this stress feature where they're measuring daytime stress levels, like how stressed are you? I found that in this feature, sometimes you can get more stressed just by seeing that data. But it can be helpful if you're overstressed and you're not realizing it and you're like, hey, maybe I need to do some mindfulness practice. Now, one of my favorite features of the Samsung watches that Apple Watch does not have is body composition. I don't know how accurate it is. I did a video on that if you want to watch it. But it also integrates with smart scales. For example, on my Apple Watch or my iPhone, I have to download the InBody app. I have to open the InBody app. I have to connect the InBody to the InBody app and then do the scale and then sync it to the InBody app, connect to Apple Health, and then it automatically downloads, which is a couple steps. Whereas the Samsung Watch and the Samsung Health app automatically itself connects to InBody and it imports all that data. And I can also do body composition just on the watch. So let's see how different this smart scale is to my Galaxy Watch. So now I'm going to go to the health app, and we're actually going to try to use the InBody. So I'm going to come down to my body weight composition stats. I tap the triple dots. I'm going to say accessories. My InBody is right there. We're going to make sure that it's on and connected. And now we're going to use the InBody to scan and enter data. We're going to step on the scale. It's going to measure my weight first. 210 pounds. Oof, big boy. Grab the handles. 13% body fat. I'm definitely not 13% body fat, but it's automatically synced right here. 210 pounds, 13% body fat, 105 pounds of muscle. There's no way I'm 13%, but that's what the smart scale says. Now we're gonna measure on my watch here as well. So the weight already from that smart scale is automatically inputted here. So we're just gonna confirm the weight, and then we're gonna do this test with my 2 fingers. Hold please. Boom. All right, there it is, 210 pounds. This one is saying 90 pounds of skeletal muscle, so 15 pounds less. And it's giving me 21% body fat, which is 11% more. I don't know which one to trust. I have a body fat video. They're all vastly different. So that's one thing I always say, the trend is your friend. You don't want to compare those two numbers, but maybe look at the trends over time, and that'll give you more information. It's officially been 10 hours. It is 10 p.m. and I took both these watches off their chargers at 12 noon. The Samsung is at 59% and the Apple Watch Ultra is at 41%. So the Apple Watch is definitely dying faster, but the Samsung Watch is not too far behind. It says 1 day left. So that would be 48 hours, which is not the 60 hours under normal usage. Maybe I'm not normally using it. We'll check in with you tomorrow morning. It is 8 a.m. the next day, so I slept with both watches on. So it's been 20 hours. The Apple Watch Ultra is at 15%, and the Samsung Watch Ultra is at 36%. So at this point, I would probably charge the Ultra, the Samsung, probably in the next 5 to 6 hours, maybe in the evening before I go to bed. So pretty close in terms of battery life. Overall, is someone with an Apple Watch Ultra going to buy the Samsung Watch Ultra instead? Definitely not, because you have to switch ecosystem and switch phones. But if you do have a Garmin and you do like to do some types of outdoorsy stuff and you're like, I don't want a Garmin watch anymore, I want something more lifestyle based, that is where I would probably pick the Samsung Watch Ultra in those specific scenarios. But if you're competing for something and you need an absolute amazing outdoor watch, usually the Garmin will win in most scenarios. But I love my Apple Watch because it has those lifestyle features and it has all the Garmin features. And that's why I typically wear my Apple Watch Ultra instead of my Garmin. Now back to past Shervin. I want to thank Gruns for sponsoring this video. Make sure to click that link in the description to get up to 45% off. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Click right here to see the next video. Wait, you haven't clicked it yet. Peace.